Charlie. This is Stacy Feiner. I hail from Cleveland. It's a bit of a reunion, this phone call. So to those who I have met in New York at the book openings, I say hello again. Charlie, this is a little bit maybe different. You said, focus on the mile ahead. Don't project too much. I've got lots of notes. This is this might cause you to project just a little bit. I am a business psychologist, and I work with a lot of business owners and executives, many of whom are obsessive athletes, in addition to being obsessive business leaders and exceptional in every way. Several of them are in their later part of life, and they cannot run anymore. And it's brought a real sense of sadness and I guess a little bit of defeat, and they're not sure what next they will do. And I'm trying to help them as their coach, explore different things. Of course, we've had some successes, but I was just wondering, as an avid runner, obsessive runner yourself, what you might suggest, and maybe have you anticipated it for yourself that you'll need a different sport at some point?
Totally. And I mean, look, what I recognize for me is that I get this physical, release that I need. And so do the people around me, because if I don't have an outlet for, some of this energy, I always make the joke that when I'm running, my normal life is like I have a bunch of marbles bouncing around in my head, like on a roulette wheel, and they're always bouncing. But when I run, every one of those marbles actually finds a little slot, even though I know that's not how a roulette wheel works. And I'm able to then focus, and that thought that I really need to be working on is actually what rises to the top, and it makes me capable of making progress on whatever that idea is. And I think that's the people who are really deeply immersed in running and have used running, yes, to stay physically healthy. I think all of them, I've never met one who doesn't say that it also helps their psyche and it keeps them emotionally and mentally in a better place. It's like a problem-solving time. So, in anticipation of exactly what you're talking about, because my body has been through the wars and I am pretty beaten up. I can still run long distances at this point, much slower than I used to. But I was entered in 10 days from now, I'm supposed to be in Texas riding a 512-mile cycling race. And I've been training for that. And of course, it got canceled yesterday because everything is canceled now. But I have been doing exactly what you're saying. I have started doing hot yoga a couple of days a week. I'm on the bike a couple of days a week. I can still run, so I'm able to mix all of that in. But I do anticipate the day where I may not be able to run, or not to my satisfaction. Like I can't run fast enough any longer to actually, my body breaks down before my ability to run, if you will, actually ends. And so with cycling, for example, I'm able to really push it because I don't have the same pains, the same aches and pains. I can get on the bike for 3 hours and really go after it, get my heart rate up. And it does allow me to achieve the emotional space that I'm looking for, and to get that emotional and mental release that I got, and the endorphin release. I mean, because really that's part of it too, the endorphins that are released. By the way, people always ask about the runner's high, and I've always made the joke that I have no idea what they're talking about, because all my body ever says when I'm running is, please stop. And but it's that endorphin release that takes place when you stop, and that euphoric feeling that a lot of people don't get there. Like, a lot of people don't actually allow themselves to get to that place of getting the euphoria and the endorphin release, because they give up on running or on cycling too soon. There's a discomfort that comes with the first 60 days. If you haven't been exercising for 5 years or 20 years, You don't magically get to start and everything feels fantastic on day one. You know, you've got to earn it like in every other place. So back to your question, what I would suggest is, of course, to encourage approaching the loss of running almost like you would the loss of any relationship, right? You should mourn that. You should appreciate what you had, but then also move on towards finding, if not a replacement, a substitute, something that will in fact allow you some of the same feelings. And I have found very specifically that cycling does that for me. I also kayak and I do hot yoga, and I try to do, you know, new and different things that might make it interesting. But I think whatever it takes to achieve that same sweat and that same, you know, being outside in nature is part of it for me. So being on a bike, even though it's a little dangerous these days with texting drivers, I can still achieve that same thing through cycling. And I've used running and cycling as a way to see the world. You know, I've been to all corners of the planet, and I've done it on my feet or on a bike. And I'm a cultural tourist, if you will. So I think also encouraging them to do the same thing they probably did with running and get out there and see the world, you know, do a bike tour and find ways to find that same endorphin release.
I think